It is back, ladies and gentlemen. One Piece Season 2 is officially underway. I've just watched the first episode, and I'm going to kind of go through it based on what I know from the manga and the anime and some of my thoughts. Heads up, this will not be spoiler-free, so if you're looking to avoid spoilers, go ahead and click off this video now until you've seen it, or until you're caught up on the manga, because we are going to talk about the manga and the anime as well. Well, mostly the manga. The anime is based on the manga, but let's go ahead and dive into it. The first thing that I want to point out, everything looks beautiful. The season looks beautiful. The sets were great. The casting continues to be the thing that they do the best. Smoker, absolutely fun. Miss All Sunday, of course, being Robin. She's got that air of mystery and the intensity. It's really fun. We got to see Mr. Five and Miss Valentine, who we've already seen in promotional stuff, but it was fun to get to spend some time with them. And then, of course, my MVP of casting for this particular one was Tashigi. I thought she was cast very well. But then the cast decision that I thought was the best was Matsu. On top of that, we're not going to see him a lot, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Once again, casting very, very good. So let's go ahead and jump into this one. It starts with a base infiltration by Robin as well as the members of Rogue Works. It was a fun way to kind of show off what Robin can do and what her expectations were, especially given the fact that we really don't see much of her as a Baroque Works agent until Alabasta. I mean, she did show up on Middle Garden, but really that's about it. So this was kind of fun to see that darker side of Robin having to basically learn to protect and provide for herself. And so we got to see Mr. Five and Miss Valentine at work, mostly Miss Valentine. It was really cool. It was interesting that they went back to the base in Shellstown. I thought that was an interesting touch, especially since they're on track of Zoro, who killed Mr. Seven. Great little Mr. 3.5 joke in there, since he got, sushi'd. But I thought that was really fun. We got to see the flower fruit really work. We jump from that to the Straw Hats. The Straw Hats trying to decide where to go. Usopp is using Sanji's ingredients. Great little touch. The cast chemistry has gotten better. It was good in the first season. It's just interesting that it keeps getting better. I find that really fun. It's going to make for a great season as long as they keep this kind of chemistry up. Everybody convinces them to go to Logtown, and then here's where we have the first divergence. It was really strange. Before we get to that, though, they did. Nami does a little nod to the fans, and you thought we were going to skip Logtown. It was a fun little nod, but then they go to a flashback of Gold Roger asking Garp to take care of his son. Now, the son is left ambiguous. We know we're not meeting Ace until season 3. He could show up. Like I said, I've just watched episode 1, so I haven't seen everything else going on, but it's very interesting to me that they put this here. They're definitely building toward Ace, but it feels really out of place. When this happens in the manga, it happens in chapter 551. This is essentially after Sengoku tells everyone that Ace is the son of Gold Roger. And so, I don't know. It almost feels like they want Garp involved, but there's really no need for Garp to be involved. I'm really torn on this. I don't know how I feel about it being here, how it fits. It was really well done. The actor for Gold Roger and Garp, they do a great job. They really had that camaraderie. The part where they're laughing about fighting each other and beating one another up across the Grand Line. That was a lot of fun, but it feels out of place. There's times where I think they can connect things that we obviously know, and there's examples of this later in the episode that I think are really great, but then there's also moments where they try to fit stuff in, and I don't know how it works. We'll have to see. Maybe Ace shows up and there's a little nod to that somewhere, and we're just kind of preloading, but that was one of the biggest drawbacks for me of season 1, was finding out that Garp is Leafy's grandfather that early when it doesn't happen until Water 7, which is the best arc in One Piece, in my opinion. Water 7 and Enies Lobby, that whole stretch. Absolute incredible writing, incredibly done. And for it to be here, it just feels out of place. So after this flashback, we jump back into meeting the crew, and this is a lot of fun. We see a lot of cool things in Logtown. Some fun little Easter eggs for the fans to spot. There's a great poster of Garp's headdress, the dog headdress, which was one of the first things I noticed, which means I obviously missed some stuff, but I thought that was really cool. A fun little nod to the fans. So They split up. Usopp and Nami go together, and we get this moment of Usopp going into a store to get his goggles. And in the store is Carol. Carol is a character from the anime whose father, Daddy Masterson, is a bounty hunter. Usopp wins the chance to purchase the goggles from him. It's a great moment. I'm glad they nodded to that from the anime. They obviously can't put all that anime filler in, but that was a really cool moment for the fans. Usopp convinces Nami to buy some books. He convinces her, and this is a little out of order because there's some cut-ins of each group together. And then Nami also convinces Usopp to call Kaya. We know there's a thing between Usopp and Kaya, especially in the live action. We thought that in the manga. It feels very obvious, but it's very explicit here in the anime. So that was a fun little moment to just go use the transponder snail and give her a call. Well, we find Zoro meeting Tashigi. Excellent casting. Tashigi's casting was great. She geeks out over the swords. She's very clumsy. It's a lot of fun. We have this moment of her just losing her glasses, getting knocked over, straight from manga. Same with misbuttoning her shirt, her jacket. A lot of fun stuff. So that was great. We run into them later on in what I think was the best scene of the whole episode is Zoro going into Ipponmatsu's store, and of course he tries to basically con him out of the Wado Ichimonji, and Tashigi shows up and ruins his plot, but we get the moment where Zoro tests his will against that of the Sandai Kitetsu, and Ipponmatsu is so moved Ipponmatsu, he's so moved that he actually ends up giving him Yukishiri also. So Zoro gets both of his swords, and the actor that got to do Ipponmatsu just handled it so well. He looked the part. He was really great. We're probably not going to see him again in live action, except for maybe a little flashback or image, but that scene was great. It was my favorite thing. Then we get another nod to the anime that was also in season 1 of Sanji going for the bluefin elephant tuna and buying that. Now, they don't do the whole cooking battle thing, but there is mention that, oh, Zeph stole my recipe for this tuna. That was a fun moment. And then, of course, the worst thing that any member of the Straw Hats has ever done up to this point was saying, Luffy, wait here for me to get back. Because then once Sanji goes, Luffy's on his own. So before we get back to Luffy heading to find the execution platform, we see Smoker and the Billower bike, and it looks great. Bike does well. Smoker looks great. The actor does a great job, especially when the little girl drops the ice cream on him, and he says, hey, it looks like my pants ate your ice cream. Why don't you go get some extra scoops? The guy handles the role very well. I was very impressed with Captain Smoker. Now, here's another slight change that they made, and I think the change was done in a good way at first. So Bartolomeo ends up knocking into Nami. We know that Bartolomeo was a criminal in the East Blue. He was present at Luffy's failed execution. We know that from the manga. However, we don't meet Bartolomeo in the manga until Quarter Coliseum during the Dressrosa arc. And this is way, way down the line after everything in Marineford to your time skip. But I thought it was interesting. It was kind of fun to get to see Bartolomeo. I thought the actor did a great job. He looks the part. I was wondering how they were going to do that. Now, obviously, he's not Bartolomeo the cannibal at this point. The guy's very cowardly in a way, but it looks like Luffy's the one that has inspired him, which is why he set sail in the first place. There's a great shot of him imitating Luffy's bounty poster, which was a lot of fun. And it was good for the first bit. He runs into Nami, then she kind of teaches him how to pickpocket better, and then of course he runs into Luffy, and he's like, "Hey, hello, Mark." Fun little gag, but then it felt like Bartolomeo was a little too involved. He takes him to the execution platform, and that's where they run into Buggy. And once again, Buggy steals the show. The actor that got to play Buggy might be the best casting they've done at all. And the most important casting is getting Luffy right. And Inaki Godoy is the perfect actor for Luffy. I just feel like Buggy steals the show every time he's on screen. That actor loves that role. He does a great job with it. He is so much fun. The entire part with him, and then we also get Alvida back, which props to the actress for Alvida. She really took this role seriously, so seriously that to make the slip fruit work, they're not using CGI. She did all that work to slim herself down, because that's kind of what happens in manga. She eats the slip fruit and just all of the extra slips off, and all that's left is everything that's necessary. That actress put in a lot of work. Great job to her. And it's really funny to see Buggy be like, you look like you fit in with us. He's like, you're a freak. Why don't you come be with us? It's a fun little moment. But then, of course, everything happens. They capture Luffy. There's this great fake trial courtroom scene that I thought was a lot of fun. He's like, you're a terrible lawyer. And it's like, yes, because Buggy's a clown. He's not a lawyer, which, some lawyers may be clowns, so who knows. But it was a really, really fun moment. The execution platform, though, we got to talk about that. So everything that happens up, the Straw Hats regroup. They go to find Luffy, and everything happens. Usopp's left carrying the bags. Sanji's carrying this tuna, just like the anime. It's a great moment. I don't feel like the execution platform was done very well. And here's why. I think the Straw Hats showing up, and then Smoker and Shiggy watching from the window, that's a fun moment. Just like the manga, just like the anime. And then Luffy gets to the top of the platform, and Buggy's ready to kill him, and Luffy does the thing, just like the manga, where he says, sorry guys, I'm dead. But of course, the live action is never going to be one-to-one. Live action of anything. Now, it has to respect the source material, absolutely, and it has to follow that blueprint. But it's never going to be one-to-one. This is somewhere I feel like it should have been. Because you can see the pain in Luffy's eyes. He's afraid. He's a little scared, but he's laughing in the face of danger. It's almost like he's laughing in spite of the fear. And I know what they were going for, and it's a fun moment, but it didn't hit for me. What hits when you read it in the manga? What hits when you see it in the anime? This is that Luffy's like, oh, I'm dead. Hey, it wasn't my time. I thought things, I did things, I pursued them, I chased them. Hey, that's it. It's the Will of D trademark smile. And they kind of reduced it to I'm going to be brave in the face of danger regardless of things. It just didn't hit for me. The rest of the episode is great. That one moment just really took me out of it. There's another moment toward the end of the episode that kind of had me confused a little bit too. But that's the thing. There's going to be moments that we like, moments we don't like. I thought there was a lot of things that they did really well. This just, it missed the mark for me. I am excited for episode 2. Don't think that I'm not. This is one of those things where it was a creative decision, obviously, to do it the way that they did it, because they're trying to ground it a little more, and I totally understand that, but some of this does need to be fantastical. There's a guy made of smoke, which the fight with Smoker, the best fight in the whole episode. It's so much fun, but before we get to that, once everything happens with the execution platform, Buggy gets struck by lightning, everybody escapes, Zoro fights Tashigi. That's a fun moment, and they kept it almost just like the manga, except for the part where they argue about, you won't kill me because I'm a girl. That's a funny bit. And Sanji, of course, poking at him, is it an ex-girlfriend? That's a fun moment. But that fight's pretty good. It's very short. It needed to be short. That was well done. Then they run into Smoker, obviously, and Smoker, the only victory he has in the history of One Piece. And it looked great. It looked great on screen. I really enjoyed the Smoker fight. And then Dragon steps in, and I'm not going to lie, I was very excited to see Dragon. I thought Dragon looked great. The way the guy talked, he just had this kind of air about him. He felt authoritative on screen. It was really fun. In a way, it feels like the show is hinting that Luffy does know who he is, but that's the thing. Luffy has no idea who Dragon is. Just like the rest of the Straw Hats didn't know who Garp was, which is why I was confused as to why they went that route. And so we get to see Dragon watch Luffy leave, but then we get a fun tease of Sabo in the background. And that was a great little touch, because the fandom has been wondering, hey, where was Sabo when all this happened? Because Dragon was there. If he's the second in command, don't you think Sabo would have been there? And this is a fun little nod to say, yeah, Sabo was there. Now, Sabo doesn't remember who Luffy is at this point. But, and again, like I said, this is full of spoilers, but that was a fun moment to get to see Sabo behind Dragon and go, they're paying attention. I like that. Kind of made up a little bit for the platform flub, but not really. The next scene that really confused me, though, is that Miss All Sunday shows up and offers Tashigi a spot in Baroque Works. That felt a little forced, almost like they tried to make Tashigi more important. You don't have to. Tashigi is a good character. She's a fun character. She's always great when she's on screen, especially with Smoker, and then her chemistry with Zoro, the way that they annoy each other so much. So I don't see the point of this, unless it's to kind of pull them in to have them more involved than they are in the next part, because really we don't see Smoker again until Alabasta. And so I'm holding judgment for the rest of the episodes, because for all I know, what they're setting up is a good little crumb trail. And all of this got Eiichiro Oda's seal of approval. So take that with a grain of salt. Those were the two moments that I didn't feel. They didn't hit for me. The execution platform, and then offering Tashigi a spot in Baroque works. And then the one that confused me was introducing the idea that Roger has a son early. It almost feels like they set it up for Luffy to be the son, because everyone's like, oh, the guy that got to play Luffy is Iñaki Godoy, and the guy that got to play Garp is Scottish. That's not making any sense. But in actuality, Garp is his biological grandfather. Roger's son is Ace. So I wonder if we're going to see Port de Rouge sooner than expected. Who knows? But we got to see a lot of characters sooner than we thought. This episode was fun. I'm going to watch the second episode. I'll get back to you with my thoughts on that, let you know. Until then, leave a like and a comment. Share this with your friends. Tell me what you thought. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like, what you're expecting. I had a lot of great things to say. There definitely were some missteps in this one, but I'm excited to see what comes next. I'm clearly learning how to do this video format, learning not to say everyone was great all the time, because honestly, those moments don't happen. And so I'm just trying to be as honest as I can about what I thought. But again, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.